for over 10,000 years on a mission they were never meant to return from. They have returned from the horrible secrets of space. They are the Comic Shop.
Whoa! Hey everybody, you're listening to The Comic Shop Does a Podcast. I have a secret underwater base, and my name's Aaron Lee.
I'm Evan Coy, your tyrannical comic shop overlord, and we're here with the master of Gobos,
Alex Dexter.
Gobos.
Gobos.
Tell me more about Gobos.
Well, that's like my one of my many hobbies. Building the Warhammer Gloomspite Gitz army.
I was trying to think of the name of your army, and I could not, so I just left it as Master of Gobos.
Yeah, which is fine because that's like a go-to in most things. Play goblins in as many RPGs as I can find, video games, you know.
How do you feel about goblins, Aaron?
Goblins? They're fine. You know, I haven't given them much thought. I have a book that Teresa bought a bunch of single issues for me for my birthday a couple of years ago. Technically, it's not goblins. It's called Troll Lords. But
I feel like we're very, as Joe would say, offset left here. We're going to try to move this. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Or do you just want me to
move over a little bit?
I'll just move over this way.
Right,
we have the technology to scoot a chair.
Yeah,
But,
that's better than me knocking over the whole monitor. And
Yeah, sometimes the simplest solution's the best one. But it's called Troll Lords. It's about these three. Let's call them goblins because pretty much I just think of like little green guys with some teeth and
my
jumping around.
the Warhammer army, like they just roll the Troggoths, which are just big weird underground trolls, into the same army. So
yeah,
you know.
And I liked this Troll Lord series. It looked very silly, like an 80s explosion, black and white explosion comic. But there were parts of it that were actually like kind of profound, and that's one of the early books that got me really spiraling out of control into show me all the weird books from the 80s.
Yeah.
Show me the smallest press weirdo books from the 80s.
That's the kind of stuff that I should probably poke around with a little more, see what people from the past had to offer, because a lot of what I end up finding is like old pen and ink artists or
I love that stuff.
Which I think my Frank Booth book is almost ready to ship.
Frank Booth?
Yeah.
Not Brett Booth?
Nope. Frank Booth, a while back, they did a Kickstarter, and it's just like a compilation of all his ads and art that he had done over the years.
I don't know if I'm familiar with this Frank Booth. It sounds familiar, but I haven't really...
He's a big inspiration to like Frank Cho and a handful of other guys that deal a lot in pen and ink.
Okay.
And it's just... It's spectacular work. Like it's that traditional, like went to school, you were drawing ads for major companies all in pen and ink.
So it's got more of a classical mid-century look to it. Okay, so not like a I always forget his name. Classic horror artist did the Frankenstein etchings. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, no, definitely a split away from that.
It's not Barry Windsor Smith. Oh my gosh, I was just looking at some of his artwork. The classic horror guy, Bernie Wrightson.
Oh,
there we go.
We play this game every 3 weeks or so, and I wasn't paying attention. I'm just looking at levels, trying to figure out. We're all a little hot, but I think we're going to leave it as is. Not physically hot, audio wise. That's the lingo. That's the speech they use.
I understood.
We can't be physically hot. It dropped 30 degrees from yesterday.
I love it.
But Bernie Wrightson is the game. We play this game every 3 weeks where it's classic horror artists. And then I sit there for like 10 seconds of going, I picture his work. And then at the same time, we say Bernie Wrightson.
Bernie Wrightson bears repeating every 3 weeks, though.
He's amazing.
He's a beast.
Keep it on the top of your head.
Like, physically hot comic shop.
Mrs. Lee, physically hot comic shop, all caps. Thanks, Mrs. Lee.
Yeah, that's the comic we should do. For the comic shop.
Is that part of the first strip that we do? Is the physically hot comic shop?
We're all just drawn like the classic Human Torch with the stripes.
There's 3 panels of us just getting warmer and warmer.
It's easy enough to do.
It is.
I think that's a good gag. Should I just? I was telling Alex about something. I mentioned this to you earlier in like just a short message on Facebook Messenger.
Yes, go ahead.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
So. I am a man of varied interests, and YouTube can usually cater to those interests. And there's this artist who did an internship, or maybe he did a like a limited time contract with Marvel named Sergio Cariello. Have you ever heard of him before? He was an inker. I think he did some stuff for the Midnight Suns line when that was going on. But on his very last day of work, whether he was an intern or a contract worker that just had a last day, he recorded himself going through the Marvel bullpen in 1993. What a magical tour this was, because that's when I was really into. That's probably my peak Marvel, like loving all the stuff that Marvel does. 1993.
I feel like Chris Eliopoulos referenced this video within the past year or so of like him in the background, which I think he had been at Marvel for a couple years.
They did say, "Oh, you're a letterer," and they're like, I couldn't hear the name, but I bet that was him because they had all the nibs and stuff.
Because his thing was he went to Fit, and then he was doing just an internship at Marvel. But I think it's similar to a Clayton last name I'm going to pronounce for Knowles. Clayton. How do we pronounce it?
Clayton Coles.
Clayton Coles. Thank you.
Yeah.
That like even though he was doing his college internship there, he just started lettering everything. So it's like, hey, okay, like you're just
fall into that niche.
Well, that's why you go and get an internship.
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal.
from yesteryear anyway. Now it's just a way to
just free
exploit
labor.
free labor.
Yeah.
I'm a success story kind of with that. I was able to support myself by parlaying. But anyway, I'm getting into the weeds here. But this video is really cool because it's just going from like person to person, and you don't know who everybody is, but every once in a while, like somebody that's a personality from the bullpen that would make it into the Rick Parker cartoons would pop in, or somebody that we know locally here, like Suzanne Gaffney Beeson was in it just for a short amount of time. She just waved, but like that's somebody.
Does Alex
that
know
I've met
who
before.
that is? Do you know who that is?
I'm not familiar.
Because that's an interesting local connection. I don't know her that well either, but you can kind of tell her story a little bit.
Well, she was Suzanne Gaffney before she got married, but went to SUNY Oswego, went down to New York City, and got a job with Marvel. Worked as an assistant editor for some of the biggest issues they've ever done, like X-Men #1, like the X-Men #1 with Jim Lee and Chris Claremont and all that stuff, and worked for a number of years and a whole bunch of different titles. I was talking to her actually years ago now because I'm old too, but I was talking about how much I love Tim Sale's work, and she pops over because like I'm like one of the comic book people. She does like abstract art and works with the Art Association,
Okay.
or at least used to be. I don't know how. I'm not super active over there anymore, but we're talking about that. So like I'm like the one comic guy that's like in circulation over at the Art Association.
It
And
means
so-
with that connection, it makes me wonder if I've seen her in passing then, because we've had to do work in the Art Association building within the last year or
It's
so for just
possible.
various things.
It's possible.
And to
I don't know
rewire
how
a bunch of
active she
lights
is over
for
there.
them.
Like COVID kind of like destroyed all the
Yeah.
in-person
Yeah, it
connections
did.
I had. But she was saying how she gave Tim Sale one of his early jobs
Oh wow!
for maybe not for more indie press, but maybe
Yeah.
first job for Marvel. Like maybe she was an assistant editor on that Gambit and Wolverine thing we were looking at.
Oh, I wonder if that's the job. Because
I
that's
wonder.
a very early... It is
Yeah.
funny, the weird connections. Like, local woman who is kind of tied to a lot of, like, influential X books. And then,
Yeah.
with the Tim Sale's passing here. And that was their first big Marvel job?
It could be. It could be.
That's very
It-
interesting.
it-
I wonder if it's that Wolverine Gambit book. Yeah.
or possibly one of the backups. Remember that Bishop backup in there?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's it in that book. But anyway, so she like waves high in there. She's not in it for a super long amount of time. But like Mark Grunwald shows up, who's like one of the most beloved people from the bullpen. He's like had the mustache and like the receding hairline from the cartoons with the Rick Parker. And
It's so funny how, and I'm not sure how much, Alex, you were into those like bullpen bulletin pages, but like the behind the scenes stuff, and Aaron and I talk about this, where you got to know who the cast of characters were working at Marvel, and the funny personality quotes or traits that they would give them. And getting to know Stan Lee with his soapbox and things like that. That was such an important part of comics for me. Like pretending to know. It's like a Howard Stern thing where you're getting to know the people that are behind the scenes,
Yes.
and you start to develop. And this is obviously abstracted through a comic or a cartoon, little Rick Parker or something. But like, I always loved the interviews and the little cartoons and the soapboxes. Like it felt like you understood a greater part of the little Marvel. not universe, but the little Marvel.
Yeah, you get the exchanges between whoever happened to be editing or like contributing to that particular section in the back of the book.
And I loved in this video, like everybody just scurrying around and like doing their little task.
Yeah.
And everybody's desk is a mess. like as a kid, you think, man, they're just like getting cool stuff done. Like people are just drawing stuff. Everybody is doing a million things at once, and deadlines are creeping down on everybody. Like anybody who has any art paper down on their board has nothing on it and is probably freaking out.
It's a bunch of artists all working in an enclosed space that have deadlines that they are ill prepared to meet.
and it's awesome. You see like all the different personalities. Like one guy was like listening to reggae and like his little earbuds and stuff, and like shares it.
I don't think they were called earbuds back then.
But he actually had they were inner ear.
They had the single metal band.
No,
with
it was
the ear
Yes.
insert.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
No, it was not like the headphones I'm wearing, but it actually went in the ear, but it did have the connection. So it's New York City. But and John Romita's there. Virginia Romita is there, which is cool. Like because she was I didn't really know that she was kind of like the house mother of the bullpen, because John Romita was like the dad, because he's the art director there
Oh
too.
yeah. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, isn't it like a cool environment?
Yeah.
Like I just love the inner workings of that. Like there needs to be a book that just like describes
I'm sure there is
all of
somewhere,
that,
right?
But the reason I brought this up, and well, let me just throw in one more thing. So then they have a reception at the end too, because it's the end of a quarter, or maybe it's like whatever. But it was the same year they had Cyclops and Jean Grey get married, so they have like a mock wedding with people dressed in costume as Cyclops and Jean Grey. And they've got like Magneto and Wolverine dressed up in costume there too. And people, and like Stanley's at the party. He's not at the bullpen, but he shows up to the party and he's just chatting with people. But the reason I bring this up is I have my Creep of the Crop comic book or comic story, who's like my horror host.
Pretty crappy.
Yes, and I've had this other idea for like a sequel to Creep of the Crop that's kind of a more graphic design thing, because the Creep of the Crop is actually a graphic design term, like a printing term. So the crop is like where the edge of the paper gets cut.
Yeah, gotcha.
Alex, it drives me crazy sometimes with Aaron that like
It's a deep cut.
there will be something like that. Like Wesley is Weather Emergency System, WES, and it's like for 2 years he doesn't explain this to me, and then all of a sudden like one day he does, and I'm like, oh, like I get it now. Like why? And it's not like it's hidden, but
You're
like
cut to the quick. You're ill prepared for the deep cut.
yeah.
There's a solid foundation to these things that I don't always like brush away the weeds and be like, take a look at that concrete. I poured that concrete good.
But it's another one of those examples of like a character that he's talked about for like 2 years. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and it's kind of a joke. Like, Aaron Lee.
Well, so like the Creep of the crop will either like go away from the crop line, or it'll start to cross over and crop more than it's supposed to. So I always wanted to do a story where the villainous, like the horror part of it, is more printing and graphic design related. And so I was watching this home video, and I'm like, how cool would it be if there was a found footage, like Marvel bullpen style horror thing, where there's like a slasher who's like killing analogs of classic famous bullpen people in graphic design and printer ways.
Are you following this at all?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
okay. I'm a little.
You get your arm pulled into the printing press.
Into like the barrels.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
like maybe you get pasted up on the wall, or the I don't know. Look for like mechanicals.
There's an unnecessarily large like transparency machine for layouts. You get burned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Burned alive in the transparencies. What's another one? I mean, you could do like the giant print hydraulic press. Like someone can put their head underneath there, and you press the thing and do the foot, and it comes down and goes shoo shoo. So it crops the head along with, their flats of paper. I haven't seen anything like this, and I like that it is. I like that it's comics referential.
And with the Creep of the Crop, it means you also have to throw in something for bleeds. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that's just easy.
Creep of the Crop, full bleed.
Yes. Oh, this is why I love when we just hang out and talk, because it takes the silly idea And then it's being in the writer's room where like somebody has the good silly idea and then the next person like one ups it and then the next person one ups. It's like I enjoy talking with my sister too. My sister's super funny, and she just won a major award that she can't get into, but super funny. And it's just like every time I give her like jokes or material or something, it's like she adds the idea and then I add the idea. And it keeps going, and a very good full bleed.
I think that's a really solid concept. Like I haven't been excited for a concept like that for a while.
Not even for the obstacle.
The obstacle is good. And I did buy some reference material for it to go with the obstacle because he's very much like a golden age.
Do you want to throw it on the camera? Or?
Oh yeah, we can do that. I can just throw it over here. But I just got this the other day. This is public domain comics, but this place Guandana Land Comics prints reading collection. So like anybody could do this, but they do it.
Yeah.
So
these are the deep cut pages way in the back of the preview catalog where it's just being put out by whoever.
But the cool thing about this, and the reason I had to get this was, this is like the hero of the book. This is Mista of the Moon, but she has a robot sidekick. I have to have that and it's all public domain too. So it's like, oh, what's the good stuff in here that I can steal and put together with a Wesley type thing, but the obstacle, like for the layouts and stuff, like these Golden Age comics are really good looking. Like not everything is good looking, but like these look pretty dang good.
So have we settled on what the obstacle's like symbol is? What's the obstacle? Is it
Aaron, if you could just do a brief recap
The
of who the
obstacle?
obstacle is, and then if we could follow
So
up.
this isn't even really like drawn or anything yet, but Barry Cade, mild-mannered Barry Cade, stumbles into an enchanted sawhorse outside a construction site where he is selected by the obstruction force to become the obstacle, where he is whisked away at any moment to go anywhere to be the barrier that the obstruction force needs him to be in that moment,
so
against his will.
It like in your head when you think of Barry donning his spandex because obviously what's the chest emblem? Is this like a railroad crossing in a color shift? Is it just like a standard barricade that somehow is just shrunk down on the center of the chest?
I'm still got to develop that a bit more, but I think like maybe even we were talking about this, but just like some kind of like a Letterman jacket that has like maybe the O,
Okay,
like an O on the front part, like it's like an open jacket, and then it's got the orange and white stripe across the shoulder.
Are the sleeves like hash marked so that when he puts his arms out, it's like a barricade?
I like that. I was also thinking, you know how they have the lights that flash yellow?
Yep.
I was thinking about those for
on
shoulder
like
pieces.
epaulets, yeah.
Shoulder pieces.
I would just like that on his head, like a helmet.
I had an interesting idea of
It's not a bad
just
idea.
now of like a yield sign mixed with a stop sign is some sort of shield that he can sometimes sort of like if he had to have a weapon. It's not a real weapon. It's just further impeding other people.
Yeah.
Although I do like when you see on the back of a horse and buggy, like that symbol.
Oh, the caution triangle.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think I like that more than
the
the
white
yield
center
or
with the orange exterior.
I like the idea of the shield, and to make him more Golden Age, I do like because the Golden Age is all about throw a helmet on him. Like why not?
Oh,
just give him a helmet. And I know there's they have Mist of the Moon wear a helmet sometimes in there, but yeah, I think these are all good concepts.
The helmet, I mean, pretty much has to be some kind of hard hat. Like a hard hat with a visor.
Yeah, fold like something that folds down.
That's very Golden Age. I do like that. Because originally I was just gonna have him have like wavy hair, kind of like a Todd McFarlane type thing.
Jonathan says sawhorse like Jay Garrick.
Oh, the helmet.
Yes.
Okay. A sawhorse. Like I don't remember Jay Garrick ever having a sawhorse.
He did. That was
How could you
Just
forget
balances
that
it on
classic
there.
issue of the Flash? But and I got to look at some Kyle Baker too, because I'm feeling like some Kyle Baker can feed into the obstacle. Like he did Plastic Man in the '90s. You know Kyle Baker, right?
Yeah.
And he did a bunch of other stuff too. But yeah, there's some life in the obstacle as well. But I just love like the this idea of creep of the crop, full bleed.
Yeah. No, there's mileage there.
Full bleed bullpen or something. I don't know what it exactly is, but that just occurred to me today. I was very excited.
I know, I understand. You messaged me, and I was just like, I think
Stream of consciousness.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. Like, you're gonna have to kind of sketch that one out for me a little bit. I'm a little lost with the 2 or 3 messages as to what direction this is going. But
and that's partially so I don't lose track of that idea too.
Oh, I do that all the time. Just got to throw it out there in the universe because chances are 15 minutes from now I'm going to go, what was that funny idea that I had? I don't know.
It'll also appeal to the Final Destination crowd.
Oh, true. Or the urban legends or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, dying from mundane things in a horrific way is like that was a whole genre for a hot minute.
But if this thing eventually does get made and it gets taken to like a small press comic thing, and if it's done well, I think that could, with the people who make this stuff, I think it could be a hit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with that very small niche audience. But anyway.
But I digest.
That's my ideas for right now until another one occurs to me.
Maybe we'll have another one before the end.
It's possible. It's happened before.
Yeah, we need to think of some ideas for potentially. The newspaper man is going to come to me tomorrow.
Yeah. We got one already. The hot comic shop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need to go back and mention that my wife Teresa said that we need to get muscle shirts that say this physically hot comic shop. Can it be written in Comic Sans too?
Yeah.
I mean, I could like make these tomorrow.
You'll
have to iron them on yourself.
Do we really want to go down this road?
No.
I don't think
But
so,
yes.
but physically hot comic shop. I think you should get muscle tee. Yeah, actually, we kind of went past that one. That was
It's a double down on the current state of things. It's the physically hot comic shop where just every panel, the fire, this is fine.
Mrs. Lee just says Comic Sans or script or
Joker Man?
drippy letters.
Drippy
It's
letters.
got to be drippy letters.
I think drippy letters is
What
very
if I
powerful.
what if I take Joker Man and then hit it with a blur or a warp?
Oh, why would you? Oh,
I
was trying to
I want
hurt
to
me.
pain you.
I don't know that one.
You might as well just start stabbing me with it.
Joker
Hot
Man
poker.
is one of those fonts that as soon as you look it up, you'll know what it is.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's used for like kids daycare and like what else?
It's aggressively terrible.
Ooh, yeah, I do know what it is. Okay.
Because when people start to tell me at work, they're like, just make whatever. It's like, I'll make it in Joker Man. And they go, yeah, whatever you want. I go, you don't understand, but it's okay.
You know, at a previous job, I had to just make it was like for a koozie or something. I don't even remember what it was. It was maybe a T-shirt, and I was given like no time to do it. So I just picked like a sensible font.
Yeah.
And then it came back to me. It's like, oh, make it sassy. And I was like,
He gets sassy.
You've told me the story before too.
so after finding like a sensible font and like doing like a decent job very quickly, I was like, okay, I'll make it sassy. Here's hobo font. And they loved it and used it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's,
Did you imagine like trying to read a parking sign in Joker Man?
Oh god. Well, it almost dares you not to take it seriously, right? Like I used to have a job as a lifeguard, and there was a little sign by the timesheets that said like, make sure you sign your timesheets, otherwise it can't be entered in, and you can't get paid. It was all Comic Sans with a smiley face.
Oh no.
So it's kind of like sign your timesheets, I guess, maybe. What are timesheets anyway?
JK lol.
What is time anyway? It's just when the form doesn't match the meaning. That's a dangerous place. Chip Kidd does a bit on that. He came and did that at Sony Swigo. Another callback.
Yeah.
When I interviewed Chip Kidd.
When was this? Take a big deep breath before you tell me.
2010? 2010?
Is that included in a Wesley issue?
It could be. It's not included yet. maybe for the collected edition, it'll be my Chip Kid interview.
I think that'd be fun. I think throwing in, you talked about throwing in some extra content, like pages or comic strips and things like that. But I think you discovered an interview recently that I think.
Oh
is,
yeah.
And I think that would be cool. Throw an extra interview in there or do a Chip.
Yeah,
Kid.
this artist that I really like. I don't know their real name, but they go by Teen Daze, like TEENDAZE.
Okay.
Kind of like ambient, like chill electronic rock type stuff. And I've been playing them a lot in my classroom this year because they're chill and just interesting enough to be some music, but not like so intense that it overpowers.
Aaron has
you
a
know?
no up tempo policy. I think lately.
Well,
It keeps the children calm.
yes, yeah, and the crazier the time of year gets, the more it's okay. Just classical piano for the next month and a half. That's what I did the last few months of school because I was like, just classical piano because I'm not asking for anything
riled
else.
up.
Well, you want to
Yeah.
you want to try and maintain the peace, and that's one of the ways you can do it. But I did an interview with them in 2017. I don't think I ever published it before, and so that'll be a good time to publish their stuff. Yeah, but Teen Daze, highly recommend. I enjoy their music quite a bit.
Yeah,
One
you
of my
forced
go-tos.
some on me after we were talking about this the other day, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's like good chill music.
Yeah.
I like good instrumentals. That's one of the things I like. Who am I calling a wingding? How about wingding? Wingdings? You
about-
can't even read wingdings.
Webdings.
What's the difference?
One's more emojis, I think. It's all trash. I can give you
Trash
some
emojis.
interstate gothic. That's just the generic font that every sign ever is made in.
Highly legible though.
It is highly legible.
It's nice, clean sans serif.
Yep.
I like a good sans serif. Ooh, Metropolis font. Free to use. Nice, clean sans serif. Yeah.
The fonts that you said you grabbed for Wesley when I
Yeah.
was over the other day, are you paying for those fonts or are those free fonts?
They're
as well?
free to use
Nice.
commercially.
Nice.
Even better.
I paid for a couple things that I'm swapping in. Like there's this font by Tom Chalky called Jimmy Sans and Jimmy Serif that I bought years and years ago. And I've talked with the actual creator and it was like, hey, I'm going to use these in a comic. And he's like, oh yeah, that's great. Like send me what you do.
Yeah, cool.
For like the crossbars on the eye.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For that kind of stuff. Because this is a thing I learned recently. Evan knows this already, but if a character's referring to themselves in a speech bubble, they got to have the crossbars on the eye. It can't just be the single dash for eye.
Huh.
It's one
which,
go ahead.
I mean, I guess it's. I've always taken years and years ago. I went down the rabbit hole for lettering, and this is probably early Robert Kirkman used to letter his own books. And because there was no money for
Right.
anything else. So I always thought that was interesting that like I had never heard of a writer also lettering. And so he started posting things online about like lettering technique. And then other professionals were kind of jumping in. And then, this is not early internet, but like, 2004, 2005, on like whatever forum it was, Comic Book Resources or something like that. But then it was just the deep dive everybody went into on lettering. So I was always I don't know, like when we met Clayton in Rochester, I thought that was really cool that like here's a guy at a very high level, like of a skill that's it's a necessary skill. It's not the most glamorous of things, but there really is a craft to it too. And I'm sure that like a Caetano or somebody could even speak more highly of it. But yeah, the eyes with the crossbars versus an eye in the middle of a word is treated without crossbars. Just one of those random weird things that like I don't know. It's like panel layouts for me that. I know what my 6 grid, I know what my 9 grid panel looks like. I know what my traditional things, how to work. You can break those and you can do other things and you can do goofy fonts and goofy scripts. But like when it comes to like classic lettering, you got to have, if it's a single eye, it's got to have crossbars. If it's in the middle of a word, it's just a straight up and down line. Lucas Brewer in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Lucas ditching us again tonight. Lucas is going to be a lawyer. I don't know if he told you that, but he also said that Evan is old. So thank you, Lucas. I am old.
Okay, yep. I think that means that we're all old then.
Well, old is relative. We're still living beings, or many beings that are no longer living because their age has exceeded many times what ours is.
Yeah, most things are dead.
Age is relative.
And I'm not dead yet.
Maybe
True
you're
story.
a lich.
Maybe.
A glitch.
Wow. Now we're getting into
Potato. I don't know.
Potatoes.
Makes me think of,
Tasty.
what was it, Reboot?
Reboot is free on Tubi.
No.
Yeah, the
I'm going to have to
3D reboot.
rewatch all the Reboot, and that's unfortunate because
It's
whole
not-
lot of that is bad.
It's not good. Did you ever watch?
How old is Reboot? Was that 90?
That was yeah.
Five?
That had to have been mid '90s because they took a little bit of a hiatus towards the end there to like finish the story out. Like I'm distinctly remembering when Bob gets lost, and then like you find him tumbling through the internet or whatever was going
Oh,
on.
that's so awesome.
He like recovers glitch.
Jonathan saying, we established earlier that Lucas is a baby, which we did. We established that he was born in the year 2000, I believe.
Whoa.
And Jonathan also says, I love Reboot.
Born in a world where there already is an X-Men live-action movie. Could you imagine?
Oh.
Could you imagine to never have not
And-
had Hugh Jackman?
And also young enough to not have had to watch them.
Oh yeah.
You get to grow up and hear about that there was an X-Men movie, but there's like better ones that have already come out by the time you're old enough to really watch them.
Yeah. The first one I give kind of a mulligan because they had very little money to do stuff with what was actually going on. And the second one was great, and then it just kind of until Days of Future Past. Oh boy, yikes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the X-Men movies hurt me physically and emotionally because I wanted to like them so much, but just so much wrong with them.
You'll come to terms with this eventually. Jonathan says, hey, X-Men 1 and 2 are solid. I don't know about solid.
Well, the senator in that was not solid. He was very liquid.
Very gooey, very Fluke Man-esque. Or was it the Fluke Man? Or like who's the X? Now we're going into X-Files. the guy who was kind of gooey. The stretchy guy.
This is gonna.
I
That's
gotta
gonna
do
That's
kill me.
kind of gooey in X-Files.
Because Sarah recently watched like all of probably a year ago decided she was gonna watch all of X-Files. So I know exactly.
It's a season 1 thing because
Yeah.
I started to watch X-Files 2 until they dropped it off Netflix and then I just didn't.
That's fair.
I mean, it's on Hulu now. I guess you just gotta chase around where these things move to. But I don't have the energy for that. That's why I go to Tubi and just go garbage hunting on Tubi. Like show me like the weirdest like 80s B movies, the B buddy college comedy horror sci-fi weird stuff. Like show me weird science but no budget or talent. That's
Just show me Weird Science. I haven't seen Weird Science in a long time.
Ooh, here's a good one. Did you like the movie or the TV show better?
Well, I barely remember the TV show.
man.
Was the TV show any good?
I thought the TV show was better than the movie.
Really?
I never saw the actual movie. I saw the TV show because it was on one of those low cable channels like WGN, and it would pop up in syndication, so I could see that in between reruns of Hercules and Xena.
There you go. That's probably also the same place that I remember watching it because that sounds about right.
Good old WGN, the Pride of Chicago, right?
Yeah, it was, and they would have like the Saturday and Sunday movie. Man, there's so much good stuff that we don't even experience anymore. Like,
Man, if only they'd just bring good cable back.
the good,
If only
bad-
they'd aggregate all of these internet
good, bad cable.
services into some sort of non-a la carte menu.
Do you guys remember USA Up All Night
Of
when
course.
Gilbert Godfrey would host?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
I used to love those as a kid.
I would have, but I wasn't aware.
Because it was like a staying up late. I just remember being like, going to like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old birthday party and staying up late and watching those weird.
Yeah, because Iago was telling me about whatever was going on that particular evening. Realizing that there was an entire history to Gilbert Gottfried that wasn't him playing a parrot in a cartoon movie.
This is a fun looking book.
I was supposed to say, actually, we're going to answer a question for Lucas, and then we're going to look at that. Lucas says, I'm curious on what your guys' take on the political climate of America currently.
He's trying to put up a barricade in the middle of our podcast.
Yeah.
It's hot garbage and has been for a long time. And
not
you
the
know
kind-
that. Don't goad us, Lucas.
And not the kind of garbage I'm going to Tubi to look for.
Yeah. We're all screwed. You may as well just, yeah. Go down.
Dumpster fire.
Physically hot comic shop.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say.
Yep.
Let's look at, what is this book? This is a Dexter book?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So Good Boy Magazine, as far as I know from the little bit of dive that I did on it, it's from a publisher in California, Silver Sprocket. They do have a number of indie offerings. I got hardcover of a book called Gardener from them as well. It's about a robot taking care of some sort of futuristic post-apocalyptic garden situation with a computer still floating around while he's doing his robot stuff. Something
I just watched Wall-E for the first time today.
There you go. It kind of like for the first couple pages of flipping through it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, like this is a premise that I could get down on. But Good Boy Magazine is kind of like their version of like
this paper is really nice.
Of their version of like Wizard, I guess if I could liken it to anything, it's very much an anthology where they've taken several people's work and combined it. I've got that one. They have one more,
You don't have to flip through the nudity so quickly.
I think there's a third one coming out soon or in the fall.
It's funny.
But that's one of the books that we found
type.
while we were in Boston.
We were in Boston together for PAX, and we went to whatever Newberry Comics, whatever. And very sleek, nice looking store. And it was the one weird book that I found that I was like, this looks interesting. And I put it back, and I think I circled back 5 minutes later, and you had picked up the same book. It was like, we're on the same vibe here. That like
that was my whole goal. Like we went there, and it was like, it's their downtown shopping location for Newberry Comics, which is kind of like a regional chain in Massachusetts. And I figured, I don't know, it's like a little bit higher volume. Maybe they'll have some weird stuff kicking around. They had a lot of manga, and they did have some image stuff and some variants that I think I ended up grabbing like one of, and a decent selection of stuff. But like in terms of actual indie material, that was it. Like that was hey, this is a weird book from something I've never heard of before.
I kind of love this page with the listing of all the places that carries the book, because this is something you would see in the 90s.
Yes.
Of like get more copies of this book from these fine establishments. Like I like to see that kind of stuff.
We're gonna go to the dumpster fire of a chat for a second.
Oh my!
Jonathan is reminding us to vote the primary election tomorrow. Go vote. Primary election. Lucas saying that's why I'm going to be a lawyer to fix things in the country. And then Lucas is going to become a member of Congress, and then the president, and then he's going to abolish the Constitution. So that's
yep, that's a lofty goal.
I think there's a phrase that I often think of with politics and that is to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you can take that multiple ways. Yeah, and then maybe that's all I'll say on that.
I
think
the forced birth baby with the bathwater.
God,
we need to get a hold of Nicolas Cage, and there needs to be a National Treasure 4 where the National Treasure is thrown away.
or on there it says there's a new thing on the Bill of Rights, and it was like women's health is a human right. And he's like, it's right here on the Constitution. We got to follow. Thomas Jefferson wanted us to do that, so we got to do it.
You got to put on
Jesse Ventura impression? What was
Come
that?
on, brother. We got to do this for the Constitution and all the women out there, brother.
Put on Ben Franklin's weird voodoo glasses to see it, though.
Okay, you mentioned Ben Franklin.
I did it on purpose.
I've been reading through all the Doctor Strange books, and Ben Franklin stole Doctor Strange's girl.
I believe it.
And it was in
Ben
the comics.
Franklin was a pimp by blood.
One of my favorite weird things in comics, there's a whole part of Scud where Ben Franklin is literally like a voodoo wizard. That's it. He's just like in there doing just absolute bizarre nonsense for a whole story arc.
Scud the Disposable Assassin.
Yeah.
Ask for it by name. Here on sale at the comic shop, 112 East Bridge Street.
The comic shop.
It is, in fact, here.
I like this image here. This is like I Love You Better from up here. It's just a nice little image with a doggo. Isn't that nice?
Eventually, whether it's on stream or not, we'll flip through Good Boy 2. I liked the stuff in the second offering a little more than the first, but
Gerard Way. Look at that.
Yeah.
This
is
joke.
a fun book.
I love the paper. It's thicker than newsprint. Definitely like a CalArts vibe to it, but it's out of California, so I guess that makes sense.
Yep.
And by that I mean kind of like a lot of rounded characters, like almost animation style.
Some of
type look
them,
to
some of the people that are like involved in the publishing side of it, I guess, which some of their work is in there, I believe. They have their own, web comics or
Yeah.
online offerings. Because I did a little bit of a shallow dive to some of their Instagrams.
Oh, Hyena Hell
and
is
there's,
Solar Sprocket. I have some
a
of her
lot
stuff.
a lot of odds and ends, a lot of cool stuff. Seems like a fun collective, kind of like the cartoonist kayfabe deal, where it's a big collective of people that are thrown in on.
Yeah, the Ringside Seats group.
Yep.
They just Heroes Con just concluded yesterday? Down in Charlotte,
I believe so.
North Carolina.
The kayfabe group was down there because what's his name? Kevin Delgado had a picture with the kayfabe guys.
Yeah,
That
Jim
he put-
Mahfood was there. Jim Mahfood is right next to Alexis Zarette down there.
Wow.
Oh, Aaron would have lost his mind.
Yeah, it would have just been like,
Actually, you're a Jim Mahfood guy.
Yeah, I just got the rest of the most recent run of Monkey Meat.
yeah. I assume that's one of
Or
his
no,
books.
not Monkey. Monkey Meat was Juniba.
Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts.
Okay, I would have gotten that reference.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you're going like a
No,
long time ago. or
I
something.
misspoke. The one that I recently finished was Monkey Meat, though, which was another anthology book.
Because whenever I'm embarrassed publicly for not knowing something about comics, I need to revisit that and make it clear that you're the one who made the mistake.
It was you, not me.
Because I need to protect my precious little ego. Are we gonna go through some more of these? Or?
Oh, well, I brought in, I wasn't sure, this is our least planned out podcast maybe ever. But I
That's
figured
okay.
we could just hang out and talk comics and whatever, and everybody kind of brought a little thing. And I wasn't sure if Alex had seen Image Grand Design,
I hadn't.
which he had. I can't remember when did you, this was gifted to me by the man with the secret underwater base who's sitting next to me. When was this? Was this fall of last year? Was it summer of last year?
I don't. Maybe it was fall. I don't recall. We got some.
I just remember Aaron came in with this and was like, "Here, this is for you." And I was like, "This is the greatest gift I've ever like. This is amazing."
Well, because this isn't something you can get through Diamond.
No, you got to know people, and I don't know anybody.
Well, I mean, it's
you got to
it's
be
on the
connected
internet.
like Aaron Lee. You got to know how to use the internet.
Eli
Schwab.
and Mark Darden are two of the guys who put this together along with the Wizard magazine. Jerome Kabadatan, who's our Canadian.
So explain
friend.
Explain to the people what this book is supposed to be.
So the cartoonist kayfabe, their group out of Pittsburgh. It's mostly Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor with a general, Tom Scioli. And they've all done Marvel Grand Design books, and then they were saying how they should do an Image Grand.
Explain to the
Design.
people what Marvel Grand Design books are.
So it's a retelling of an entire character or group of characters saga from the very beginning, kind of updating it and getting everyone up to speed to relatively current times. So they've done a Fantastic Four one. They've done an X-Men one, and most recently they did an Incredible Hulk one. And they were talking about doing like an Image Grand Design, how it could never work because all the copyrights are all tied up all over every which way.
Interesting.
And they said that that the fan community should do a bootleg one because that's the only way it's going to get done. And they put an ad for Image Grand Design in the first Wizard magazine, the Wizard like giant like phone book, anthology book with interviews and all kinds of stuff in there. And so a lot of the guys, this is pre me in the group. I might have been a member of the group, but I didn't know a lot about what was going on. So they got together and did these Zoom calls where they started to figure out how to do an Image Grand Design with all of these different characters.
So these are all copyrighted characters.
Yes.
That they're just doing a fan
Yes.
book for. And I still don't understand how all the IP stuff works. And maybe if we had a media lawyer like Lucas Brewer to explain it to us.
Oh, this is a hot mess of legal liability.
But not oddly, a lot of the image creators loved it because
Yes.
it was very true to the purest sense of what
Sure.
they were trying to do at the beginning of Image, where just express your love for comics.
And I think all the profits for this went to Heroes Initiative, which supports
it went to
comic
some kind
creators
of
down
some
on
kind
their
of
luck.
charity at the end of the day.
Is it one of those sort of affairs where it's like it's not really for sale; it's
Yes.
for donation?
Yes.
That's my impression.
Yes.
That it's yes.
And I mean, it's got some really nice stuff in there. Yeah, but it's, and it's not made out of parody or out of a desire to punch down or make money off of somebody else's IP. It's
just love letters from
yes,
creators, both professional, amateur, who just were greatly influenced by. I think we have been like.
Yeah.
We all. I can't believe it was the 30th anniversary of Youngblood a few days ago, potentially. Very recently. Whether it was the past few days or past few months where I saw it, 30th anniversary of Youngblood.
It was a couple weeks ago because I distinctly remember something popping up here where it's like, oh, Youngblood. That's not a thing that I remember hearing about for the last however long.
But it's, I would have been 10 years old. And like, there's such formative stuff with all this image nonsense that was just so bright and bold, and you weren't competing with the internet, and I was not like, I liked video games, but this was just different from all of that, and it was just the right time of all the rock star artists coming together to create the most cheesy, over-muscled, big-boobed, goofy, dynamic group of characters that they possibly could.
As many mercenaries and anti-heroes you could possibly come up with.
Pouches and
no good people at all.
No.
Just burnt, but it just burned into my head. It's part of my DNA is all of this stuff that, like, now that we're all in our mid to late 30s, I'm 40, like I'm very old, Lucas. It's just a part of me that will never go away. That, like, when I sit down and doodle, my friend, my old boxing coach, posted online the other day. He got a max print from Sam Keith, and he's a little bit older than me. I'm going to say he's maybe 43, 44, a few years older than me, but in that same wheelhouse of things. So then we talk every once in a while. And actually, at the beginning of the pandemic, he would. I guess I didn't realize when I was training with him that he was such a big comics guy. Like, we talked comics, but like didn't realize. But he had put a long box on his front porch at the beginning of the pandemic, of which he told the kids in the neighborhood, here's a library of comics. You can just take whatever you want. So actually,
that's a really cool idea.
I sent a bunch of comics to him, and every once in a while we have that comic talk. But then we start to go into the Max, how we both love the Max, and then he starts sending me, I was doing this drawing, a recreation of the cover, and I know he can draw too, and it's like, it's the 43, 44-year-old man talking to the 40-year-old man about, like, 1993's The Max, and, like, how much that's just part of our DNA, that, like, when we're 80 years old, if we
back in my day, they used to draw the pouches so much bigger.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I, because I was around for Image, but I was not 100% aware of it, but I did start to become aware of it through, like, some friends of mine that were a little bit older, and that they started making their own characters. And so I think the Image Comics thing is such a formative thing, even if I wasn't directly buying Youngblood or Spawn at the time, because I think I was a little too young for that at the moment. But just having that idea that, like, creators are making new stuff right now that's making a huge impact.
Yep.
And I think that's something that always stayed with me. Is that it doesn't need to be Spider-Man forever.
No.
Like, you can make new stuff today that can have as much or maybe even more of an impact.
Is it Shadowhawk or is it Nighthawk?
Shadowhawk.
Shadowhawk. So there's, like, memories of the comic shop of yesteryear when Image was coming around, because it was also the same time frame of when
Is that Mahfood?
Yeah.
like
Show that to Alex.
Wizards of the Coast was like, hey, we've got this thing, Magic the Gathering, but also here's Pokemon a couple years later. So here I am to buy the pack or two of cards, and it's like, oh, what's all this stuff? Like, not fully understanding the difference of Marvel and DC and the fact that there's this new company, Image. I used to buy Wetworks comics here, and I couldn't have been much more than 12.
Yeah.
And, I remember the other titles being on the shelf and not really understanding. I'm like, these guys look cool, and it looks like a different version of whatever's going on in Marvel. And just no grasp of what that meant.
Well, and it was an exodus from Marvel, all those creators.
Very true.
From Marvel employees.
Yeah.
And
It's a fun page.
as the oldest, because Lucas knows that I'm really old, as the oldest guy here, I was just barely aware of what was going on with the Image guys leaving. And it was probably more through Wizard, I guess, that's how all the information was communicated to
I think
us.
that's how I was aware of Image, was Wizard.
Yeah, and I think that's we're gonna do a Wizard show, I think, in a few weeks. But man, that's how, again, pre-internet, like, and Wizard helped create Image as well. And I think I've mentioned this several times before that like without that push from Wizard saying like, yes, these are the hot artists. Obviously, they're selling all these books, but like it could be very easy to see them get behind the Marvel in this thing, saying, well, that's the bigger entity, and that's where maybe that we're getting more money from advertising and things like that. And but Six Boy says Image was a great alternative to the main Marvel DC titles. Yeah, it was just.
It still is.
It still is. Actually, it's funny to think about Image.
Most of what I buy these days.
It's funny to think about Image now versus what it was in terms of, the bombastic superheroes to now. It's like the best pulp crime.
Well, and it's everything and anything. You get the pulp and the crime, and you get the slice of life, and you get the superhero, especially with all this that whole Radiant Black and everything. You've
That's
been getting,
right
like kaiju stories and things like that, and Ultra Mega, and it's just like Shotgun Method. I don't know. You got an idea? Yeah, it looks like it'll work for at least 6 issues. Go for it.
Yeah, or if they like the idea, Eric, what's his name, Eric
Stevenson,
who's kind of like the pitchmaster general. It's like, oh, I could see this working.
Yeah, he was a Liefeld guy at the beginning. I think he was a.
Was he editor?
He wrote a couple things, but I feel like he was. I think he just became in charge of the little Extreme Studios there. But he was in the very beginning with all the. Oh, I was looking at all the failed Rob Liefeld imprints the other day, but because then he went to Maximum Press when he started to have when Silvestri left. I don't even know the timeline. I'd have to figure it out again. But like, Silvestri was mad that like Liefeld was poaching talent from other Image studios. So then Silvestri left, and then Rob wanted to do a different imprint where he had total control. So he did Maximum Press with like some big sword and sorcery book and a bunch of busty babes. Oh.
Well, the part of the deal with Image Comics, you would publish through Image, but I think you would give up like 10% of profits from your book. And I think Liefeld's percentage, like he was putting out more books than anyone else. I think
because they were just pumping trash out of Extreme Studios.
Yes, but it was trash that was selling.
Very good point.
So, so he was seeing a bigger chunk of his money go away from people from his perspective. I think who were hassling him about his practices, right? So he was just like, okay, well, I'll just take my stuff and just put it over here, maybe still do a couple, but I'll get to keep 100% of this because it's all through me. I think there's some documentaries or maybe even some observations I've listened to that can speak to that.
And then he went on to do like Awesome Comics with Fighting American. There was like the whole Captain America legal battle because it was just, even though it was in public domain, Fighting American was in public domain, but basically it was just like, that's really...
Well, I think I don't think it was in public domain. I don't know if it is now, but it was the Joe Simon camp. Joe Simon was willing to let him use it, I think.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was a public domain thing. But
I don't think it's public. It might be now, but I don't know if it was then. But there was a big fight about the shield. This is on Rob's observations about how he could never throw the shield, and Rob was like, "I never had him throw the shield," and because of that, he never threw the shield, but he like had like rocket launchers and machine guns and like the Rob Liefeld of what a shield would be.
So it's everything but a shield.
Yeah. So I just imagine that bet where they're like, oh yeah, and you can't throw the shield, and he's like, okay.
Well, the shield's gonna shoot shields.
Yeah. It's gonna be like the pizza shooter out of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles car.
Good reference.
That's why we're an old man podcast.
I feel like I came across that particular vehicle not that long ago when I was digging through some boxes at my dad's house. It has no pizza cartridges left.
Oh, of course.
That's one of those things where like the actual van or
it was like a weird garbage truck that had like a top loading chute thing in it.
Where I'm sure that's worth $30, but if you have one of the pizza discs are worth like $50.
Yeah, I think me and my siblings broke that thing the first day we had it.
It's totally believable. Like I remember somebody had the Turtles blimp and that thing lasted about one whole week before it popped.
My buddy had the Turtle. I never had the Turtles, but I don't feel like I had a lot of like playset stuff for Turtles. I had Turtles. But I don't recall like owning the van or owning the blimp or anything like that.
I had a couple of vehicles, but it was mostly other people I knew that had like the big elaborate, like the Ghostbusters, playhouse and things like that. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool.
I had the most X-Men stuff probably. But right when that first wave of Toy Biz stuff got a little old, and then the remaindered stuff got brought over to Big Lots,
Yeah.
I was a happy child that Christmas. I'll just say that much.
Like going and finding bootleg Power Ranger toys.
Yeah.
Well, now the bootlegs would kind of be more exciting.
Yeah. That's an interesting point now that you mention that. It's like, were the bootleg toys really there for the kids, or were they there for the adults? Like, oh man, check out this cool. I don't even have a
But a
good
bootleg
reference.
Power Ranger wouldn't be for an adult because that was such a new
At
property.
that point.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was like a bootleg Superman or something that touched on
Sure,
an older
which
generation.
had to have been there too, though.
Yeah.
Batsman or something.
I love looking at the toy titles at the dollar store, where it's like
Legally distinct.
dark costume sword wielder.
Yes.
It's like you mean ninja. It's like, oh, I didn't say ninja. It's a dark costume sword wielder.
It's like reading the Amazon product description of something that is clearly not made in the U.S. and it has about 800 words to describe it.
Military friendship team with male pronouns. Male pronoun military friendship team. Hey, let's copyright that right now. That's really good. G.I. Joe derivative.
With Sergeant Fighter. He wears a bowler cap, not a wide brim. It's definitely not Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes. I like this team. Oh, you know what would be... Like, now I've got another idea. See, we're going to get another one in here at the
Yeah,
end.
see?
What if you had a military-style fighting team, but everybody had like a reference to a classic fine artist?
Ooh.
Like you could have Sergeant Magritte
Yeah.
with the bowler cap.
He
Throws apples at his enemies.
We're one step further deviated from Ninja Turtles in a more interesting, grounded reality. you get to have like Leonardo, but he's, instead of being a sword wielding turtle, he's just like I don't know what.
He's got a pedal copter.
He's the Donatello of the team.
Well, because Leonardo da Vinci created the
that's
templates
true.
for the flying machines.
He has extra arms and legs because he's the
Ooh.
perfect man.
This is a darn good idea here. You could do a Frida Kahlo, and she's like a cyborg because she kind of was, because she got like impaled and stuff, and then like had a leg and all that jazz.
Michelangelo just has a jetpack because he worked on scaffolding so much in his life.
Oh God. He's just like the heavy construction guy. Could be. Let me think of some other.
What do you got, Evan?
I don't know. My brain's churning for thinking about artists, but I don't have anything very funny. So I'm just going to sit back and enjoy.
Van Gogh. He's just got knives. He's a knife specialist.
We get in further closer to
He's got some
modern.
like special, like
He throws paint at people.
You get an MC Escher, and it's a mesmerist.
Ooh. Oh yeah, I like that idea.
Salvador Dali character that's
It's a villain.
Sure, because he's dealing in psychedelics.
Ooh, oh, you could have a villain team. All the artists that I don't personally like.
Yeah.
You could have like Salvador Dali on like the villain team. You could have
Who's your Cobra? That's the key.
Could it be Salvador Dali?
It
I
could
learned
be.
I learned a little bit about his life. He seemed like an insufferable person to be around.
Yeah.
It could be
Anybody could be the Cobra of legally distinct all-male military team Superforce.
I don't particularly care for Rothko and his field paintings. Ooh, Jackson Pollock would be a good.
Oh yeah, that's a trend.
he would be a good Cobra.
What a villain right
He's
there.
a villain. Pollock's a villain.
A
Yes.
notorious abusive alcoholic.
He's just drunk all the time. He's not different from real life. He's just drunk and is throwing paint at
and
people.
he has the reflective metallic mask.
Yeah,
and he just
he's
wears,
Destro. Yeah,
yeah. I think we got something here.
you could have weird fringe people that are just graffiti artists too. They're like the mercenaries of the whole bunch. Like they're not good
Oh,
or
that
bad.
would be like your Casey Jones. Like
There-
you
yeah.
do like a Jean-Michel Basquiat as like a Casey Jones.
I was going to say Banksy Jones. No?
I'm just trying to consolidate that because I like Jean-Michel Basquiat as like a Casey Jones
Yeah.
because he's got a face, you know, where Banksy he's kind of a nebulous like who.
Banksy is like the Cobra character because you never see his face through like all 100 seasons of.
But I don't think.
But
of
that's how
Banksy.
Casey. I'm
He's
going to
not
make
a
an
villain.
argument. You never saw Casey Jones' face. Did you ever see the clip of him going into the job interview to infiltrate the Foot Clan, and he's wearing a suit and he still has the hockey mask on?
No, I haven't
see
seen
his
that,
face.
but
You see his face.
that's great.
You see his face in the movie and the comic.
All right. Jonathan Lego Man says Captain Rembrandt. Sticks Boy says Salvador Dalai Lama.
See, Salvador Dalai Lama that's a whole other direction. That's like,
And enlightened Salvador Dali.
We need a name for this team because I can't just call them the Joes.
So we need
Art friends, super art friends.
Super Art Friends Assemble.
There's got to be some kind of Art of War reference in there too.
Oh man, that means that you could also go back. Like you could
Painting
have
platoon.
you get somebody doing like some sumi-e, like old Japanese painting, like that. That's
Ooh.
a
Hokusai. Get some Hokusai in there. GI artists. I mean, that would be the GI arts. I mean, the line is shortest with that name of what we're referencing there.
I like that they could fight the evil of like rose art.
Ooh, and prang.
Yeah.
It's like, this is more wax than pigment.
the best part is it's close to Krang.
Yeah.
Ooh, prang is a villain.
It's
Ooh,
just
I like
it's
that.
just a wad of wax inside of a big suit. Ah!
That's there's some good stuff here. There's some things.
I'm glad we're recording this because I would definitely forget some of this.
You're gonna have to farm it for material for all it's worth. You're gonna have to watch like the last half an hour.
I feel like this is a good bit. This is like on the Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin show. Like they'll get questions like this too, and they'll kind of like brainstorm and put stuff together.
I often think of this as very akin to Fat Man on Batman.
Sure.
I
Fat
think
Man
that's
Beyond.
pop culture show
I don't know.
with people of varying degrees of competency.
What's the name of the group? That is, I feel like we
That's
need
the
to
trick.
we need to crack this nut before we call it a day.
That's the trick. It's
You don't like Painter Platoon? Is that too many consonants?
I like alliteration, but
too many syllables.
what I just keep going back to like episode ideas of like how it would work because they obviously always did, the PSA for whatever. It's like, is the PSA that you don't use cheap art supplies?
Yeah.
Is it, Rembrandt, like you say, don't go to the dollar store and buy paintbrushes.
But if that's your only option, a painting is better than no painting.
Pick the tail hairs out of your dog.
that's-
Sweep them up, crush them in a piece of tinfoil, and make your own brush.
I was trying to come up with like a horsehair something thing too. So that's even better. What's the name of the art force?
I mean, their jet could be the Art Force One.
This is good. Hasbro.
Art Force One is
Hasbro, give us a call. We're ready to make a deal. We got the play set. We got and the art supply tie-in. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Are they the Pos Bros, like the die from around Easter time? PAAS? Like
The Easter egg guy.
the Easter egg die kit?
Pos Bros.
It's bad. No, it's bad. You can say it's bad.
The tendrils are not there for the marketing.
You could also only market it certain times a year. Like it would be.
Yeah,
it would
we don't
be-
want to limit ourselves.
It would be to one very specific religion's holiday.
The Art Bros.
GI art.
All right.
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Do we call it? Oh, here's
It's my dad calling. I'm going to call him back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Sketch Team 6.
Sketch Team 6?
Sketch Team 6.
That's pretty good.
I like
There's
it.
something there, but to me, it immediately goes to like you put all the weird guys on the good guy team. You're like, oh, what do they do? It's like, I don't know. They're kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
I think that
There's a
checks
good
out.
There's a good pun in there, yeah.
And then it limits it to 6 too, so we're not going crazy with all the different characters there.
How like are these fantastical powered people, or are they people grounded in reality using their art to
However, if you can explain it in a way that makes sense, I will accept anything. If you can make it make sense.
Because this makes a lot of sense.
Is this like a Puff the Magic Dragon scenario where like he's drawing and then all of a sudden the dragon comes to life?
If you can find a compelling reason for it, I'm for it. You got to sell it to me though. I'm not just going to sign a blank check.
The whole first story arc is just them tripping because Salvador Dali poisoned the water. And they think they have magic powers.
Oh, there's got to be some kind of scam he did.
Oh gosh, yeah. What if it's all just
They're just
it's not
tripping.
even real. It's just they're all on drugs and thinking they're fighting some kind of war when really it's just Salvador Dali like poisoning the other artists. I like the idea that because that way everything can be real because
That's
they're
true.
perceiving all of this weird stuff to happen. So it's not really happening. It's just artists on shrooms fighting other artists on shrooms.
And then at the end, you can
so-
just have Salvador Dali shrugging, and then they're all like writhing around on the floor.
So
That's the conclusion of every story.
In the same vein, so a handful of years ago, I'll have to remember that the game was Eternal Sonata, and it was about Chopin's life, but as told through like a JRPG. So as Chopin is slowly dying, and it like cuts to his real life as he's dwindling in his final days, you're like uncovering the discovery of some of the music that he created in his life through like RPG mechanics. It's like there's something there. Like maybe it's the fever dream of Magritte, and he's imagining all of these people throughout history in some sort of art force that's just G.I. Joes, but
I don't
with
think Art
artists.
Force is bad either.
It's not.
It's not.
I'd have to go back and watch some G.I. Joes to see what sort of garbage tropes you can pull out of it.
Yeah.
I just imagine like Gustav Klimt in his big robe, but I'm not sure if Gustav Klimt would be like on the good team or the bad team though. I mean, he's one of my favorites.
Sometimes morally ambiguous is the best. Especially since they have, like, all the Joes had such hyper-specific tasks and, like, things they were good at.
Yeah, I think that's you'd have to really drill down into the characters and make them very specific. But then you could, you start with your 6, but then you can kind of swap things in and out. And again, I like the idea that the whole thing is just one big hallucination.
Yeah. And
That can
maybe
make it
that's the whole
fun.
premise. Maybe that's the whole premise is, like,
I've poisoned the water supply.
it's just a modern-day artist having just a really bad time. Like, what if? It's just a great what if.
Have we suffered enough?
Maybe.
It's a little after 7.
Let's bring the suffering to an end.
We'll have to think about
Sketch Team
what the
6.
what the team is called, who's on it, and who do they fight. Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Well, all artists are all catty in their own different groups. So they just fight other artists, of course.
You want to plug anything?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I picked up some issues of this series from Aircell Comics called Maelstrom by Jim Somerville. I'll plug that. I haven't had a chance to flip through all of these, but
You want to flip through a page or two real quick?
yeah, we can do that. Kind of a fun line art and airbrush style, very much like a Conan Punisher type thing.
Oh, I thought that was something else for a second.
No, it's just a tale.
It's a tail. It's not a
but
front.
but
tail.
just kind of a fun style, airbrushed backgrounds and then kind of ink drawn foregrounds. Like there's not much story going on here, but it sure is fun to look at. It's
like the
kinda-
big chunky lettering, all the sound effects. It's kind of fun.
yeah. Yeah, it's very easily digestible.
Yes.
And that's what I like. Wesley the Robot, issue number 9. I've been chomping right through that. I got a few more pages inked today.
Bam.
If I keep going, I might be able to get it inked in the next couple weeks, and then lettered. So it might be sooner, but I'm gonna say spring.
It's always going to be sooner with Aaron.
But that way I've got plenty of breathing room if I need to do some other stuff. Got Preet's Pizza, the human son of a living pizza man, must fight evil anchovies.
Must.
With the help of LT Provolone, who's like Judge Dredd with the cheese on his head. We got Creep of the Crop, Crop of the Creep, Croptacular Crop Show. The Rural Ghost Horror Host, 30 pages of terror, 3 individual stories. That's available from the comic shop for just $5. It's a little zine, black and white zine. Those are my 3 books that I'm working on now. Very excited about Wesley number 9. It's got some good bits. It's the best comic I've ever made, and it's 60 flipping pages. It's going to have 2 variant covers.
Can we say who did the variant covers?
No, we can't announce that yet.
I know.
When it's coming out, we can do that, or maybe even when I get like a facsimile, or like a version of a proof copy, and I can do that. But very excited about all that stuff. I can't wait for it to exist in the real world. It's gonna be cool.
Alex, you have anything?
I'm stuck working overtime this weekend for the city's big 4th of July block party happening on Sunday. There's a parade and all sorts of whatever, and then there's fireworks. So,
Sounds like you're going to have a great time.
I'll only be there for a little while, but I'm sure other people will enjoy it.
I got nothing. Come to the comic shop, 112 East Bridge Street.
The
comic shop.
That was a good one. We haven't hit a good one in a while. Do you want to take us home?
Yeah, you've been listening to The Comic Shop Does a Podcast where we just say anything that comes to mind. No particular theme, no particular topic.
Themes
just
are for
a free
bums.
floating, free association. Comic Shop does a podcast for you today. Oh, yeah, and I have a secret base underwater.
I'm Evan Coy, your tyrannical comic shop overlord, and
I'm Alex Dexter, and I'm just kind of here.
have a good night, everybody.